As part of its efforts to improve standard of education in Nigeria, the National Senior Secondary Education Commission had organized a two-day stakeholders validation meeting of the draft National Minimum Standard for Senior Secondary Education in Nigeria and critical workshop of the draft National Senior Secondary Education Strategic Plan. The stakeholders validation meeting, which took place in Abuja, had in attendance different educationists from across the state in Nigeria. Some of the participants who spoke to ENTV on the importance of the validation meeting have this to say.
Since 2015, WOWB has been transforming the way Africa works and learns. And specifically, learning has moved from being chalk and slate, pen and paper, to now becoming tablet and interactive touchscreen. Our children, who we call Gen Z, especially those born after year 2000, they are what you call the digital generation. They live in devices. They live in a phone, in a tablet. They live in an interactive panel. Everything for them is video-led. So what we're doing is to make sure that it's not their fault we're born into that generation. What we're trying to do now is to ensure that our children are able to compete globally, not just locally. They're able to compete with the best anywhere in the world. And that is what digitalization does. Digitalization gives them that ability to be able to bring out the best in themselves using the best tools that's available for them in their own world. And that's why when you go around, you look, anywhere you look today, if you see children distracted anywhere on the streets, most likely they are watching a film, they are watching wrestling, they are watching a TV. That's because for them, they are video-led first. So WOWB has been pioneering the use, and we've also been doing a lot with regard to advocacy on digitalization of learning, of the learning experience. So for us, it's critical. And more importantly, most of our exams are now computer-based testing, especially for senior secondary education. So it's critical that teenagers are able to express themselves best using digitalized tools, which is what WOWB has been. All of our technology is built on, has a foundation of artificial intelligence behind it. So if you notice, whenever you have experience with our equipment, there are inbuilt cameras. Our cameras track your face, they track your movement, they track your voice. So those are all things that we built in the AI algorithms into what is in there. So that is critical for us as a brand and as a business, because artificial intelligence is key in terms of the future.
You look at the
app, it's a way of learning. WOWB is building smart schools. We're not just a technology company, we're also an infrastructure organization. So we're building the schools of the future, 21st century schools from ground up. And in those schools, you're having best-in-class technology. So the same way it is for a child to use a pen and a paper is the same way it must be for a child to be able to use a tablet. It's the minimum that is expected for a child to do in terms of their learning. So wherever we are, government, private institutions have to make that investment, because that's what the leading nations have done all over the world. So when COVID came, you didn't know whether there was a rich man or a poor man, whether you were in the village or in the township. It's the same kind of thing. Our technology is built also on virtual learning. So basically, wherever you are, whether you are in the village or whether you're in the township, is built natively internally to have inbuilt camera functions that allow you from anywhere you are teach in another location. So if you're in the city in Abuja, I can teach you in a classroom in Obubra in Cross River State. From Obubra in Cross River State, you can teach me in Asaba. From Asaba, you can teach me in Malumfashi. That is what technology does. And that brings down the price of learning. That's what we're pioneering. So WOWB infrastructure is pioneering the adoption of smart schools. And smart learning technology is what has come to stay in the learning spaces all over the world, from primary to secondary to tertiary. That's the way learning has become. That's why you have what we've done for many years called online courses. Online education. People are graduating from universities they never went into abroad. And that's because there's technology powering and making sure that happens. That's smart. So basically, putting in smart tools is what we do here at WOWB Interactive. So it's available. www.wowb.com, you'll find us there. And we're all over the country. So many state governments are working with us at the moment to build their new schools, the schools of the future. What they want to see their kids become is what WOW is enabling to make it happen.
You see, this is going to be the first time we're going to have what we call minimum benchmark for senior secondary school, unlike colleges of education, polytechnic, and university. I participated in the what we call CCMAS, that's for Nigerian University, and I'm also participating in this same senior secondary school. It's very important for us to have what we call minimum benchmark, so that it's going to cut across both private and public schools. You see, about 30 years back, the type of education that we run in this country is far better than what we now see these days. Everybody will just open 2-3 bedroom, you will discover it's converted to a senior secondary school, and they'll be running a program that is not in conformity with what we call the minimum benchmark for secondary education. But with this type of stakeholder meeting, at the end of the exercise, we're going to issue what we call a communique. I'm also part and parcel of the communique committee member. And God's willing, Nigeria is going to see what we call a kind of a renewed hope, so that at the end of the exercise, Nigeria will be able to have a uniform senior secondary education. We use the word minimum benchmark. It's going to cut across. It means it's compulsory. And the essence of having this commission is to be able to now enforce the policy on all the 36 states and including Federal Capital Territory. So there is nothing like disadvantaged educational advantage. No, minimum benchmark is what is expected in terms of infrastructure, what is expected in terms of the number of employed graduates. You understand? That is the minimum. Yes, we quite much agree. I'm a scientist. In some states, you may not be able to get. I'm a professor of mathematics. In some states, you may hardly get even people that are well-trained teachers in the area of mathematics and some other basic sciences. But when you talk about benchmark, minimum, it means maybe for you at the end of the exercise, we'll be able to come out with something. For you to establish a secondary school, no matter, you must have maybe say something like 10 teachers. Out of these 10 teachers, you must be able to have the teachers for the basic sciences and then core courses. I'm talking about mathematics, English, and entrepreneurship. So I don't think there will be any state that will be left. You can see that we have about 36 state commissioner of education, and we have some Nssec also invited. That's the essence of calling people the stakeholder, so that at the end we rub our minds, and I can assure you by this same time tomorrow we'll be able to come out with the community, and you people are all invited. This is going to be the first time that Nigeria is getting it right, especially in terms of senior secondary education.
This meeting is organized by the National Senior Secondary Commission. There are two major purposes of this meeting: to come up with a national minimum standard for senior secondary school in Nigeria, and then to critique the draft policy for the implementation and the 4-year action plan. For the interested to know that Taraba State Governor Dr. Abu Kefas, since he came into limelight, he first and foremost declared state of emergency in the education sector, and also declared free education in basic and secondary education, and also sliced down the tuition fees for tertiary institution by 50%. This he intended to ensure that every Tarabian have access to quality education. And since he has been working on that, and in Taraba State, it's this year that we've got the highest of the budget, state budget allocation to the education sector. So the governor is actually passionate about education, to see that there is a revolution in the education of the states by ensuring that every child returns to school and providing infrastructure and all the necessary facilities needed to ensure that every child receives quality education in the state.
The Nssec, that is National Senior Secondary Education Commission organized this program in collaboration with World Bank Agile project. The aim of this program is for us to validate the minimum standards for senior secondary school in Nigeria. And from the drafts we have seen, the whole thing, because they will go through the review and check what else can we add and what can be removed from the draft paper. And I will tell you that by the time this is put in place, I think Nigeria secondary school education can compete effectively with any secondary school globally. If you were at the handing over ceremony of Yahya Bello, the former governor of Kogi State, and the present governor, Usman Ahmed Ududo, you will notice one thing that the former governor said he has put a platform, that put a good level foundation that the present governor, Usman Ahmed Ududo, can take off from. If you look at Kogi State education, I think is about one of the best in the country. Why? Because the former governor voted 30% of our annual budget for education, and it's above the UNICEF standard, which is 27%.
Yeah.
In Kogi State, we are one of the states that are up to date in the school annual census. In Kogi State, we have what we call education law, that all education institutions must obey. In Kogi State, last year, the former governor recruited 1,150 secondary school teachers, and he approved 3,950 for us. But because of the cash backing, we have just employed 1,150 teachers. With this one, the secondary school education in Kogi State, I think, is one of the best. And in the last national Council on Education that we held in Lagos on December last year, just about 2 months ago, the report card for the implementation of education programs, Kogi State came out with the 7th position in the whole nation. And we even beat Lagos State, which is the worst, and some of other states in the country. So that says to that the former governor and the present governor, because it's a collaboration, and it's a continuation. Actually, they have performed very well in education. And if you look at the tertiary education in Kogi State, at least.
On the final note, Nigerians were assured that the draft from the validation meeting will set up a high standard of education at the secondary school level. Augustus Oche Ifene, ENTV, Abuja.